As far as a introduction goes, Sean and I, get hundreds of business plans, right? And the ones that come to us from one of these two are going to go to the top because first of all, we know them and they're good people and they generally, know how to identify, decent opportunities, but they also know what we look for, right? So if, they might channel an interesting financial services deal to Sean and his firm, or a security deal to our firm. But yeah, I mean, I'd pick up the phone if it came from them and say, no, tell me what else you know about these guys, And to the extent that it doesn't breach their their confidentiality arrangements, they'll share. He's a good guy, been working with him for a while, But that's, I guess, just on that subject, we all are accustomed to dealing with your confidential data and yours and yours and yours all the time, and so we do have to keep respect of that. But at the same time, yeah, we're gonna.
And on that note, while you look across the spectrum of venture investors, back in the late '90s and 2000s, you had multiple firms chasing multiple deals, and so there was a bit of a competitive nature. I think that was somewhat of an aberration. Venture funds tend to be herd animals, and so if you find a deal you like and you're able to syndicate it, it really hedges your risk across future rounds of financing and dilution, and so you're not so deep in one deal that you may be running short on capital and you're being a penny wise and a pound foolish down the line. So we definitely will reach out and call venture funds that we've worked with before or folks that we think would be interested in that deal, even as we're just starting to vet it. So there very much is a network of the funds talking to each other about the entrepreneurs.
And it's a very small world.
Yeah. And conversely, you should be talking to people about what they know about us.
Yeah.
Right? It's part of the back to the whole dating thing,
And there's a website called thefunded.com. And if you go on thefunded.com, entrepreneurs can anonymously rank and post things about the VCs. So you read all sorts of terrible stuff.
No, the VCs and the individual partners specifically.
Yeah, exactly.
I think both of our firms have been sponsors as many years as there has been a cap venture program. Cap venture companies are typically companies that are way pre-revenue. There's no way that either Morris Manning or Heba Fargheti and Wynn could expect to see any fees from those companies. They don't have the money, and we know that. But as the venture capitalists have talked about, it is a relationship business. I told you that I have many venture capitalists who call me from out of state who say, when should I come to town next? What events are going on? And I'll give you, 4-hour block, and will you set up some companies for me to meet? Those companies may or may not be ready for that guy to write a check that day, but he or she is interested in knowing what's going on in this geography, okay? My company doesn't make a fee off of making those introductions. We do that because we are here to help grow Atlanta's technology community. I know Morris Manning does the same thing, and they don't charge for that. We wouldn't be doing it if we weren't committing to helping you guys grow. The benefit that you get is we're just like they talked about, it's a relationship who you're with. We're trying to build that same relationship so that as you do grow, you'll remember who the people are who helped you get bigger and get to where you need to be.
And I would add to that we spend an unbelievable amount of time in the community with the introductions and all that. And we don't charge for that. Ann McDonald, our Director of Business Development, she spends a lot of time helping identify the venture funds to provide the introductions so that we maintain that credibility, so we can get to the top of the stack. From a legal services standpoint, Susan's right. I mean, there are some companies you go into and fee arrangement or not, if it's not successful, do we get paid? That's a risk that we'll take, but that's an investment we're making into the company too. The other things, there are other services that we provide. We do what we call a legal project review that we don't charge for, and it's for new clients that come in. We'll look at all their corporate documents, assuming they're already organized. But we'll look at all their corporate documents and create an action item list of here are the problems or here are the things you ought to look at to fix. Now, we don't charge for that. We do. We are a fee-based business, so we make our money off of legal fees. So eventually we expect to get paid. But what we can do with those action item lists is identify the issues, prioritize the issues, give you an estimate of what it's going to cost to fix those issues, and then collectively make a decision on what needs to be addressed now versus what needs to be addressed later. Again, it is much better to have it clean from the beginning. We have seen many instances where it was just done poorly. I've got a deal going on right now that we are spending. We're selling. It's a client that's going through an auction process. Was represented by another firm, another attorney, and I bet it's $100,000 plus to fix the problems. And had that been done correctly from the beginning, you're talking about 10% or less on legal fees to do it right the first time. And so you can go your bargain route, and that might make sense. Make sure it's getting done right, which is hard for you to do if that's not what you do for a living. But.
So the National Venture Capital Association, and did you see this come out here in the last couple of weeks? They have actually released one of the things they do on the legal side is they try to come up with model documents and model term sheets, the whole 9 yards, to kind of normalize things across the industry. And what they've come up with recently are a seed round of documents. So when you start dealing with friends and family, start dealing with angels, there should be a less expensive way to get that done. I won't dare say what the estimate is on what it should cost, $200,000-300,000 grand.
Not quite. It depends on what you're doing. I mean, we'd have to sit down and, but you're looking at $10,000 to $35,000, I guess. It depends on what you're doing, and the types of terms you're putting in. If it's a simple incorporation with common stock, you're going to be. It's not terribly expensive. If you're talking about preferred stock, if you're talking about limited liability companies with operating agreements, partnership agreements, those types of things, those are incremental costs, all of which can be very good ideas. But to give you a good estimate, one of the things we do is we use a project management system that allows us to estimate fees fairly accurately. And so we implement that type of system to tailor it around what you're looking for.
Thank everyone for your attendance, and I'd like to also thank our panelists today. Hopefully everyone's leaving here a little more enlightened about Venture Atlanta.
If anyone has any questions, I left my business cards on the table, or I'm going to stay here for a few minutes, so please don't hesitate to ask.
Two quick announcements. By the way, I'm Paul Free with ATDC. Put on your calendar, May 24th is ATDC's showcase and celebration. This is our 30th anniversary, if you can believe that. We're calling it Homecoming Weekend. We want you guys to come. It's going to be at the Georgia Tech Hotel. We've now outgrown the Biltmore, so make sure you're there. Every month after this meeting, ATDC sponsors an entrepreneur roundtable. It's downstairs in the ATDC community room. If you are an entrepreneur and want to join us, it's a wonderful session. It's just a group of entrepreneurs talking about their problems and what they're doing. And finally, next month, Trip Rackley is going to be here speaking. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's the CEO of Firethorn, which is now a Qualcomm company. You're not going to want to miss this. It's going to be fantastic. So we'll see you next month.